a la charla con Laine Ashker. We are so happy to have you here tonight. Laine is a very dear friend of ours and of all Costa Ricans. She loves coming here. Hopefully she'll tell you that as well. She is a 5-star rider. She's completed 7 5-stars. She's a Grand Prix dressage rider. She's super well known for having a great eye for a horse. She develops off-the-track thoroughbreds and brings them up to the highest level. But she's also a super special rider that can ride any type of horse. I've personally been super inspired by Laine just because she's always positive. She always has a smile on her face. Not saying that it's always easy for her, but she will always show you the most positive and just uplifting attitude. She's always willing to help anyone out. She was super nice to me when I went to the States to work and ride with Buck, always lending me a hand and showing me the ropes. And then she always been willing to come to Costa Rica, teach us here in the rain, in the sun, outside, inside, wherever we are. And she's just a pleasure to be around. So without further ado, I present you guys with Laine Ashker and the talk about how to persevere in hard times and how technology can help.
Hey guys, how are you? Thank you, Leo. That was an awesome introduction. So I appreciate everybody having me. It's been awesome. Super strange times now. Crazy. I would have never thought last year, like, finish up the year with some of my horses, had some, amazing times, earned my first gold medal. And those of you that might not know, in dressage, you have to acquire higher scores in Grand Prix to earn this gold medal. And now I'm thinking, wow, I haven't even had my first real show this year. And it's crazy because now some people that do this for fun, you show and do this for fun and it's a hobby. Well, for me, this is my life. And so to have not shown for over 6 months, I can't even remember the last time I've not done this. This is crazy. However, there have been some pros and cons to this, but it's been nuts. And it's been absolutely unreal. And I think it goes without saying, for not just everybody, for not just eventers, for jumpers, for anybody that does this, that does horse sport, we've all kind of found ourselves asking, like, what are we supposed to do in this time, right? And I think some of us have found ourselves a little bit isolated a little bit. I know personally, one of my best friends is Elisa Wallace, and anybody that follows horse sport should follow her because she's not just an amazing event rider, 5-star event rider. She also does Mustangs and takes Mustangs literally from Wyoming, Montana, and then retrains them. And sometimes she'll sell them, sometimes she'll compete them. But she's an amazing horse person. And Elisa lives down in Florida now. And I know personally the feeling of isolation that this COVID gave me because a lot of my friends that were in Florida got a head start on the season because they were competing, at least through March and, at least through the mid-March, and I hadn't even started. More so, if anybody follows a little bit of my story, my top horse, Patrick, had surgery last year in July on his splint. And so I was sitting back, feeling sorry for myself, in the beginning of the year, and then COVID hits and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even get going. But after I sort of sat there a while and not really a while, but, kind of sat back and thought to myself, actually, I can kind of turn this around a little bit. This show season, okay, everybody's kind of stopped. But look we don't have, first it started off with the big FEIs like Carolina, and then Rolex got canceled, which was horrible. And then badminton got canceled. And now it's basically every top 5-star, 4-star has been canceled throughout the year. And Devon got canceled. And, I'm kind of taking it as a time for me to get my horsepower, and all of us can look at it this way, to take the time to actually train our horses instead of always preparing our horses for shows. And think about that a little bit, right? Because I know if you're always showing, for instance, and for me, I'm always getting ready for a show. Even in the winter time in Virginia, it's pretty temperate like it is in Costa Rica. You're always showing. or you're always being able to ride, right? Especially, I know for Leo, who has an indoor, even in the rainy season, you're able to ride. But for me, I'm always getting ready for a show. And there's a difference between having the time to actually train and, okay, this wasn't a good day today, so I'm going to go back and do that movement again tomorrow. And I'm going to break that movement down for the horse, as opposed to, oh, well, all right, we're just going to have to wing it, right? Or I'm going to have to just make this happen and be forceful with my horse, right? And so that's been, for me, probably the best thing to come out of COVID, and to really just properly train my horses. Going back a little bit, it's been, for me, ways to get motivated in seeing some of my friends, have their show season and me not have a show season, and kind of getting geared up. I've looked back to some of my past shows that I did really well from last year, the years before, and I've watched those videos. More so, when we've had bad weather here, or we've had a day off, I've taken that time to watch really great videos at Burley and at Badminton to get inspired. And then I know some of you guys follow my Instagram. I was really good on, sometimes I'm really good about posting the grid of the day. It's not because I don't want to post grid of the day or dressage exercise of the day. It's because I get really busy. Well, because I've had this, I don't want to say extra time, but time of not always prepping for a show, I've had time to really brainstorm and not just always be, like I said, prepping my horses for another show. I can build new grids. I can take the time to write them down. I can take the time to explain them. I can take the time to post them. I don't think people take the time to think about how long it actually takes, because it's me personally managing my social media. So I don't think people take the time to think about, okay, I got to ride. I ride anywhere from 7 to 10 horses a day. Then I teach. Then I raise baby birds that are in my living room right now. And then I have to break all those videos down, splice them, put them on my social media, and then write a little blurb about them, and then post it, and then try to answer back people's questions and whatnot. So it's a lot of responsibility to do that. And that's why sometimes where I've fallen short in posting them, it's just because of time. It's certainly not because I don't want to. So yeah, ways to get motivated in this time of COVID is, look on social media, look at some of your top riders that you really enjoy. Because some people are really, I know myself personally, I get motivated through motivating others. So I like to post everything that I'm doing. I'm weird. I enjoy posting things that I'm working on. I thought it was hysterical. Some of my dressage friends are probably like freaking out and rolling their eyes at me when I posted Patrick making a flying change. He was like 2 strides late. But if you guys know how much I've struggled in asking this horse to do a flying lead change without him like blowing up or galloping 5,000 miles an hour, and for him to do somewhat relaxed, even though it was like late. Again, if it were any of my dressage horses, I would never post it, but it's an eventing horse and it's a huge stride in his training, and I posted it. Again, it's seen as a fail to some, but it's seen as a successful to others. And so I post it. And again, that's motivating people. Be like, okay, it doesn't always have to be perfect what you post on here. So that's a really good way to get motivated. Again, watching other people's rides. I'm a follower. I follow Catherine Dufour. I follow Isabel Fries. These are all dressage riders, because I really want to get better in my dressage riding. It's not like I think I'm the best eventing rider by any means. I'm not. But I feel like I've accomplished a lot in the eventing world, and I feel like I have so much more to accomplish in the dressage world. So I really try to follow people that I want to aspire to ride like, and a lot of them, because it's a younger generation, post their stories. So I follow their stories almost daily. What are they using to train with? What do they feed their horses? There's power in that. There's a lot of power in that, and things that come off that are just that what they use naturally. You see that in the background. That is what sells, right? That is what sponsors like to see. Technology is an amazing thing, right? You guys are in a totally different country and we're having this conversation. I'm talking to you guys about technology, which is awesome. So I came across this, one of my students one day talked to me about this Pixum, right? And I had one of my dressage friends I was telling her about it, and she's like, oh my gosh, Laine, we've been using this forever. Let me tell you what this is. The Pixum is this camera, device is a camera. It's a camera device. It's not a camera, because what you do is you put your iPhone or whatever camera you have or phone you have, and you put it on it. And what it is it's a device that gives you the ability to train with virtually anybody, anywhere, in any time zone, right? Obviously they've got to be awake at the same time you are, from any place. All you need is a Wi-Fi, or I guess you could probably use another phone as Wi-Fi. You need a C coach, right? So that you guys can talk back and forth. And you need the Pixum device. So what it does is you set up a couple toggles around your arena, right? And you set the actual device in the middle, and you have a watch on, and it follows you. So one of my students in Boston takes regular dressage lessons from me. Because I'm so busy here, I usually teach her super early, around 6:30 or 7 in the morning. So I'll be sitting in my apartment, okay? And this was at the time when her barn was completely shut down, because Boston, I don't know if you guys have followed the news a lot in the United States, but Boston was really hit hard with COVID. And so her barn was totally shut down. She happens to run the barn. So she was lucky in that she could go to the barn every day. She lives there. She wasn't going anywhere. And so I would teach her every other day. And she couldn't have no one was there to help her, to film her. So she put the camera on the thing, she had the watch on, and I would teach her lessons. And it's just, the thing zoomed, it followed her. What's even more awesome is that it saves the whole lesson with my instruction and the video of her on her horse, right? You can do this with jumping. And if you want to, you can have someone with the jumping, if you don't want it to toggle, if you want specifically someone to zoom so that the person on the other end, the coach, for instance, on the other end of the laptop, iPad, phone, if I wanted to, I could teach from my phone. If the person on the other end wants to zoom in more, you don't have to have it automatically done. You can have it manually be done by a person if you want to, but because she didn't have the luxury of having anybody at the barn, she had it automatically do it. And I can't tell you how amazing that is. Also, I've told a couple of my clients, I teach, as you guys know, I teach clinics around the world. I can say I'm an international client. Thanks, Leo. An international clinician. Because you can teach literally anywhere in the world. Well, a lot of my clients, live in Wisconsin. There's not a lot of eventing trainers there, or a lot of dressage trainers there. Everybody goes to Wellington. Everybody comes to the East Coast, maybe to California. So getting really good help is hard to find. So if you don't have a lot of people in the area, you find yourself either going for a week or two to the East Coast. It's a lot of money, right? So spending $900 on the Pixum, well, it's way more cost effective than buying, a truck and trailer, or if you have a truck and a trailer, just the whole cost of going and spending weeks worth of training, when you could just have the training, the luxury of at your own place. So it's, I think it's just amazing. Another thing that I did that was really neat, another experience I had, was my client in Wisconsin had a dressage. She put on a dressage show, and it was a virtual dressage show. And she asked me to be the judge because I knew enough, and no one was doing anything over first level. So what everybody did was I set up on our iPhones, because everybody had an iPhone, thankfully, to make it easier. We set up a photo sharing stream. And everybody uploaded their test. So one person took the test. They had a dressage ring set up. They did their test. They put it on the stream. What I did then, of course, you have to have a little patience. What I did then was I downloaded each one onto my phone. I put it onto iMovie, and then iMovie has a really cool thing where you can do a voiceover, right? And so I played the video on my phone, and then I just did a voiceover, and I just did a commentary over it. So I didn't actually score the test. I just did a commentary over each test. And then I re-downloaded it to the stream so that everybody could see each other's, but I thought it was really good learning. So that's kind of another way that we sort of had fun with technology, and we're going to continue it because it's sort of like a clinic with me not physically being there, but also being there. And it's a great way to just do a fix-a-test where people are still practicing. And it's probably even better so that you don't have someone always in your ear, and you learn to think on your own. So yeah, I think I think technology is a great way of almost alleviating that sense of isolation that COVID has given us, and almost bringing us together a little bit. And I know I hate that hashtag where they say for COVID together alone or alone together, but if it has to be that way, we might as well make it work for us, shouldn't we? So lastly, one thing I want to talk about, kind of bringing this all together, is social media. So many of you know I had an accident in 2008, and I lost my horse. It was a Olympic selection trials at Kentucky, Rolex, and I lost my very amazing horse, Frodo Baggins, from the fall. It was a rotational fall. I was hospitalized and was not good for anybody. But the accident was played quite a pivotal role in eventing in itself, because there were quite a few accidents leading up to my accident. So eventing was gaining more sort of bad publicity. And my accident sort of was the pinnacle of it, because this was live streamed. Sort of after my accident, they sort of put a delay. But also they started paying attention to way jumps were built a little bit more. I was sort of shoved into the limelight at a very young age, and I had ESPN, HBO, all sorts of different, Fox, coming up to me asking me for interviews. Thankfully, Buck and a couple other amazing people told me to turn these interviews down, which I thankfully did. But I did get grant interviews to horse magazines. I did grant interviews to a couple local news stations, and I realized, even to this day, and I don't ever watch them back, but I did watch these reports back some years ago, and I realized how the media could make you look super terrible, and how they can splice your words to sort of paint a picture that they want. And it was at that very point in time I had to sort of have a conversation with myself about how I was going to turn my image around. And Twitter wasn't a thing yet. Facebook was out. That was sort of about it. So, of course, MySpace was kind of fizzling out. I took 2 years off. From granting any interviews. And then in 2010, I went back to Kentucky, finished 8th place. And that was my first interview afterwards. And I had gone back to business school in 2009. That was when Twitter started to come out and become really cool. And I learned about the power of hashtags. And I will say, after my accident, I lost a couple of sponsors. I was the leading lady rider going into that accident. Again, I was really thrust into the limelight at a very young age. But I had a lot of success at a very young age. I was very lucky to have great horses. And I will call it luck, because I didn't have the knowledge that I know now. I just had really good horses, and I had a lot of luck on my side. I think I've used all that luck up now. And now I have more wisdom, because I've had the experiences that I've had, as you gain with age. And I needed to turn my image around, because I realized that I looked so bad on a lot of those interviews. And so I took to social media and I rebranded myself, and I came up with my hashtag LAE. And I granted interviews when I wanted to grant interviews. I still to this day make sure that anytime I grant an interview or a long spread in a magazine or any sort of publication, that I get first read, to make sure nothing is put out of context, which you guys, anytime that you do this, you have the right to do that. And I basically took the power of social media and I harnessed it for myself. I put out what I wanted people to see, not what the media wanted to see. And I think it's very easy to be a victim in it. And one thing I just despise being a victim in anything. And I was a victim, but I created that because I granted those interviews. I had no idea. And it took those terrible experiences with the media and my terrible experience in losing my horse, if that wasn't enough, and almost losing my life and spending 3.5 months in a hospital in the ICU, if that wasn't enough, you know, and then getting hate mail throughout the rest of the year and wanting to quit eventing in itself, if that wasn't enough, you know, I had to then go through it with sponsors leaving me. And I just said, okay, if this is really what I want, I've got to, it's not like I need people to like me, but I need to like me. And I'm going to put out what I want people to see. I'm going to put out me, what I am. And I'm not going to pay somebody to post what I want. And I'm not going to pay somebody to go out and get sponsors. I'm going to go after sponsors that I thoroughly believe in. So no one's going to pay me to use their product, right? I don't believe in that. If I'm going to use a product, it's going to be something that I genuinely believe in, that it's just by word of mouth. Like I was telling you earlier in the conversation, I look at people's stories a lot. I expect people to look at my stories a lot. Things that people use that you don't even think about, right? Like if I'm giving my horse, I don't know, a cookie, what kind of cookie is that person giving that horse, right? And I'm just kind of throwing that out there. Or if you just see me in the background putting the horse boots on, you know, I look at what people like Catherine Dufour look, you know, that's where I got my escadron wraps, my dressage wraps. I got that idea because I saw all these top riders doing that. Well, obviously, if these riders are using it on their horses, well, it must work, right? They're not doing it just because, and a lot of them, they're not doing it just because they're being paid to do that, right? It's what they use day to day in and day out. So it's got to be genuine. It's got to be authentic. And let me tell you something. I have gained so many sponsors, and like I said, I'm a relatively successful rider. I'm no Mikael Young. Do I want to be one day? Yes. I mean, I need to stop waiting around. I'm 36 years old now, but there are some amazing riders out there that are way better than I am. But I think what makes me a little bit different is that I'm relatable. Okay. I talk about not just my successes, but my failures. But I'm really into social media and sponsors like that, right? So guys, promote the sport on social media, right? Talk about eventing, hashtag dressage, hashtag, you know, pura vida eventing, right? Hashtag eventing sunny Costa Rica, because it is sunny and beautiful all the time. It's amazing. You know, get sponsors. And I could see how sponsors would want to flock to Costa Rica because there's nothing there. You guys need sponsors there. So someone's going to want to be a first comer there, right? Someone's going to want to be seen there, but they're not going to want to be seen there if you don't have followers, if you're not active. They want to see activity, right? I will say where I am guilty, but I'm not really that guilty. I did hire someone to help me with managing all of my sponsors in sending out emails to all my sponsors, thanking my sponsors. I have a photo stream with that brand manager. And I send her constant pictures of me with my horses. And so she'll go out, and because my Facebook, my Laine Ashker Eventing and Dressage Facebook page, I see is a little bit more, I would say, formal than my Instagram page. So my Instagram page is my baby. So she's only allowed to post on my story, and she's allowed to post on my Facebook, my fan page, right? And then send out emails to my sponsors. Because listen, a lot of top riders, I think they see the sponsorship as a one-way road, and it's not. You don't know how many sponsors, big sponsors that I have that have dropped names that are way like dropped these sponsorships with names that are way bigger than me. But because there's not a relationship of symbiosis, right? It's got to be these people, if they're giving you this product, they want to see you put that product out there on the World Wide Web for people to see that you're using it, right? So again, it's got to be a give and a take and a give relationship. It's not just, okay, give me the product, just lavish me in the product, I take everything and give you nothing, right? It's got to be a symbiotic relationship. And I think that's one thing that a lot of riders in general fail to understand, is that you give, right? the product is given, but there's got to be a give back. There's got to be reciprocity. And so, yeah, I think I've always been a big component of trying to get our sport out of the small world of just horse sport. I try to tag GoPro. I try to tag makeup lines, because I think our sport is so much more than just horses. It's a sport of kings. Yes, I know it can be seen as elitist, but it also, horses work with autistic children. It brings so much more. It brings so much more to life than just wealth, right? And people that are wealthy and of high class. Horses are amazing creatures that enrich us in more ways than we know, animals in general. So we can do our part using social media, using technology to spread that word. And then on top of it, we can reap those benefits by getting sponsorship. And that all of it goes together, right? Because when we get sponsorship, that helps us. Because there's no way I couldn't afford the saddles that I have, the bridles, and everything that you see on me, around me, is sponsored. And last thing I'm going to say to close with, never be afraid to ask, right? The worst thing that people are going to say, sponsors, is no, right? I mean, you don't know how many times I've heard no, but I'm like, hey, it's the worst thing that happens. They say no, I didn't have it, whatever, it's okay, right? So I've been turned down many times, but for every 10 times I've been turned down, there's been one time that they've said yes. So, and I'm going to say one more thing. So I needed some more show jumps, and I said, okay, I'm going to send out all my sponsors an email saying, hey guys, who wants to buy some show jumps for my farm? Because how many times am I posting grids of the days? It's just, again, on my stories, how many students am I teaching? I have so many students that I come over to teach. People are videoing. That is name recognition, that you see your jump everywhere. And that's like easy, great. That's branding at its finest. Already I've had 2 sponsors come back saying they're going to buy a jump, right? And I had 4 others say they're not going to get a jump. That's okay. That's 2 jumps I didn't have before, right? So it just doesn't hurt to ask, you guys. So that's what I'm leaving you with, that, right? Staying positive, right? That's the only thing that we can do. Watch other people's videos, right? Technology, including me, guys. If you want to work on your extended trot, hey, Laine, I don't know how to do a half pass. Send me a video. I'll watch it. I'll critique the heck out of it. And I think this Pixum is a really cool thing. I've been talking to Leia about it. I think it's amazing technology. And I know I've personally used it now countless times. And hey, if I can teach out of the comfort of my home, sipping a tea, I'm all for it. So if anybody has any questions, I would love to answer. I hope everybody stays healthy, stays safe. Enjoy this time with your horses. I know I'm starting to show. Our first show, we just did a schooling show last weekend, which was awesome. We got totally dressed up to the nines. It was so much fun. Our first real show is set for the 4th of July. It's an eventing show. And then I go straight to dressage land the weekend after. And then we go every weekend. So I can't tell you how excited I am. And my horses feel great. But it's just, honestly, I hate that this had to happen. And I feel so terrible for the people that this had affected, and the lives that were lost to this horrible epidemic. But if I have to find the silver lining out of it, it's really forced all of us to take a step back and to realize what matters. And I've just sort of enjoyed the downtime and enjoyed my horses and in my family and my birds. And that's, at the end of the day, we all have to think about that and, hug our horses and our family and our friends. Cheers, guys.
Thank you, Laine. That was a beautiful, inspiring talk, and I'm sure we're going to have lots of questions. But we first wanted to show a small clip on how the Pixum works that I think everybody should watch so that they can get familiar with the technology. And then we have a surprise video after the Pixum video. So, Seba, si me hace el favor de poner el video del Pixum.
Ahora le damos un segundito, por favor.
And then we already got a comment from Rebecca. You saw her when you were here at the clinic.
Yeah,
and she's saying she loves your Instagram stories, but not only the work you do with horses, but the release of your birds.
I know.
We love the bird videos. Okay, so we'll see this short clip on the Pixem. Espero que a todos les guste, y esta es una tecnología nueva, súper útil para clases a distancia. ¿Listo, Sebas? Ok, entonces espero que les haya gustado. Eso es un pequeño ejemplo de cómo se puede usar la tecnología y con la claridad que la otra persona lo ve en la casa. So the really cool thing about this smart technology is that it follows you around. So the coach has kind of this 360 view of you riding in the ring, right? And it can just, you wear a watch and then the trainer at home follows the video. So that's really special. And it's also kind of different. And I don't know if this has happened to you, Laine, but sometimes we get a really nice volunteer to video. Yes. And they have absolutely no idea what they're supposed to be videoing. And then when you actually get to the really cool, high, wide oxer, there's no video of the oxer, right? They either stop the filming right before, they either zoom into the jump and you don't get the horse or the rider.
Or the headless rider.
Or the headless rider. So this is just great because like the volunteer can just enjoy and watch, or they can set jumps. That's welcome as well. They can cheer you on, but the camera really does all the work for you.
And it's also important to note that it's free for the coaches. So the coaches only have to sign up and set up a username. So the coaches they don't have to pay anything. All they do is they sign up, they set it up, that's it. So the only one that's putting the money out is the person that is taking the video of. So that's also important to note. So, there's no cost to the coach that way. But what I really like is that you can save these sessions so you can refer back to that lesson and say, hey, it was a really great lesson on shoulder ends. Let me refer back to that. I saved on my phone, with the instruction of the coach on it. I think that's just amazing.
Yeah, that's really, really good as well. And then we've been talking about how useful social media is. And I think it's fine if we kind of a guilty pleasure, like to go online and just have fun and watch the memes and stuff. But especially teenagers and stuff, if you're going to be on social media, if you're going to be online, yes, have some fun and downtime, but also do some education time, right? And like rewatching your videos and your lessons is really instructive as well.
Absolutely.
All right. So now we're ready for the surprise video. And if you guys are on board, we'll get to ride around the 5-star course through Laine's helmet cam.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to relive some of those Rolex moments.
Oh,
and we're just going to watch you go. So the helmet cam, you're familiar with that. Laine would put it on her helmet and she would just go out cross country and provide us with the experience of riding around a huge, crazy, humongous course. Entonces, Sebas, vamos a poner la pista. Y esta es Laine en Rolex con su caballo Al en el año 2016.
Oh, and I remember it was just pouring rain. And I was so nervous.
Yeah, and please, you can do the live commentary, Laine.
Okay, I'll do the live commentary. Yeah, I was very nervous because the weekend before I'd had the worst cross-country school ever with that. And I couldn't even make it over a training level jump with him. So I wasn't going out with the best of confidence. But as we sort of went around, we gained it. But as you guys can see if you look on the floor, the footing was super deep, and we were the like fourth of last to go. So it was just the footing just was not helpful whatsoever. And Al at this point was 16 years old, so was getting up there. And you know, so my plan was to just go direct everywhere, and I think I saw a long one here. And yeah, it was an amazing ride. I'll shut up for the rest of it, because I think the most amazing part as this course builds, if you guys listen and turn your volume up, the type of pouring rain, you'll hear the cheers of the crowd saying "Go Al, go!" And I can't wait to get back to that, and to have people that love the horse and cheer me on like that. It's an unbelievable feeling. And the crowd really builds. And for people to stand out there in the pouring rain like that is true dedication and true fans. And I appreciate them so much.
Laine, as we watch the round, I think we would like some of your comments, like what jumps scare you the most,
Okay.
or like things you remember about the course. Maybe if you get a little nervous about whichever, maybe I think the coffin, not the coffin, the ditch and wall is coming up shortly, and you have this crazy.
That was a bit, well, Al's always good at those, and he's so careful. I can just hide those. So this, I wasn't nervous about this one. This, I mean, of course, this is sort of the next one I was worried about. And this was a fairly large drop to like a narrow but wide jump coming out. So I was nervous about the setup here and the striding coming out, because everybody got different strides, and I didn't know how Al would jump in, and he jumped in quite conservatively. So I added the stride early on, and then I was pleased with how he jumped out. And then they're amazing, the crowd. I watched this video this is a video I watched to motivate myself. It really inspires me to continue to train my young horses to get back to this level, because I live for the crowd. They really get me through it. Coming down this hill, another big ditch. They call these spider breakers, frankly, after I did the Costa at Burley, nothing looks big anymore. The ditch and walls. And this is very large, but Al's pretty good at ditch and walls. So next up was quite a big gallop to the hill. If you guys are trying to avoid all the bad footing, so it took a lot of time to kind of bob and weave bad footing. Yeah, exactly. So I go to the left, and then I kind of go. You'll see I'm going everywhere. Hard. Yeah, so here, and then a nice drop down. And a nice bounce out. I love that. Can you guys hear them saying "Go Al, go"? I love that.
Yeah, that's really cool to watch, and I think that's also an example of how good it is that you took that video with the helmet cam, that you put that video up on YouTube so that we could all enjoy it, that then it was on Inventing Nation, like a ton of like Facebook pages shared it. And then we all get to enjoy it and watch it at home.
Absolutely, because it gives people a bird's eye view of what it's like, the speed, you know, how to ride at that level. And it's education, right? It's education for not just me to go back and relive the ride, but for those, hey, I want to ride that level. What is it like to ride that ride, you know? And I think I think anything that we can do to be more educated as riders and as horse people, then why not?
And I think it's really important, like we watch these videos to have fun and we enjoy them, but also like learning experiences. So what type of fences, how they were decorated, the roping. In Costa Rica, we don't have roping because like our venues are so small, we don't really need them. And we don't have the amount of spectators you guys have. And like, what are spectators like? So if we go to event, we're supposed to cheer. If it starts raining, we stay out in the rain because then like for you guys as riders, if it rains, you still want the spectators out there. And then riders like you are super grateful to have the spectators, right?
Oh, sure.
So it also gives us an idea of how we have to behave as like a community. The jump judges were getting wet, the riders were getting wet, the spectators were getting wet, and it's kind of what it's all about. We're all in it together. So I think like watching these videos are like really helpful. And then, like, as you say, you're really approachable on social media. So, like, we can see your videos. And then if we have any questions or comments, we can just shoot you a text or a DM. And then we have, like, our answer available to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So would you like to ask Laine any questions? We have about 20 minutes of an open forum. If any of you have questions or comments. So Rebecca here is asking, do you get lightning when it rains like that in the competition? So like actual thunder and lightning?
It depends. And usually they don't rain thunder, but if it starts lightning, they'll postpone. I've had events postponed to the next day or like stopped in the middle of the event when there's lightning. They don't have this competing in lightning. Generally that time of year at Rolex, they don't have lightning. You know, but I mean, we've definitely had lightning and thunder at shows, but usually when there's lightning, they'll postpone the event, or they'll stop the event.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get a lot of rain here too. Usually since we're eventing in the dry season, we usually never get rain except in the April show. We usually get some rain for that one. Since we have few riders and we usually get rain in the evenings, it's fairly easy for us to organize riding in the morning.
Sure.
And then we're usually clear of rain. But yeah, it is important to know. Chicos, más preguntas? Any questions about Pixem, social media, Laine's horses, Laine's birds? What kind of clips you can send her? If you can schedule a lesson? Any questions are welcome. So Catalina, she's a young rider. She's American, but lives here in Costa Rica. She's Costa Rican as well. How do you prepare or get psyched up right before the event? That's a good question.
That's a really good question. So I do two different things. For my dressage horses, I really like to be overly prepared with my dressage horses. I like to know that the test is almost review. So again, and this is really for whoever, I don't know, it's everybody's preference, but I like to have my preparation for not just the test itself. Okay. Obviously you're going that level for your dressage horses for a reason, but also my preparation for going around the arena, right? So most people just think, okay, go around the arena. It changes day by day by day. But my preparation for every horse, my warm up for literally going those a minute that you have to go around the arena before you enter the arena is very different for every horse. I have a strategy, right? So depending on what horse this is, Atlas is my FEI dressage horse. He's very forward thinking, a super hot horse. So I do a ton of transitions. I usually do shoulder out to shoulder in, walk transitions, halt, you know, things to get him sort of waiting for me and on my aids. My Zeppelin, who is younger, needs to find a rhythm. I'll usually do a little bit, I'll usually do like a little medium trot, and then back to collected. I always walk in front of the judge out of respect for the judge, but then back to medium, right? Things to sort of get him forward thinking and getting him into a better momentum. But sort of, that's sort of how I mentally prepare. I want, as is feeling more in control. A little funny story. So for cross country, how I mentally prepare, I'm not a very outwardly nervous person. I like to have a plan and stick to it. I don't like to watch. I like to watch a couple people and then watch them do it right and then be done. So I'll watch like Buck and I'll watch Philip and Boyd, and then and not no disrespect to other people, but I don't want to watch it done bad, and I don't want to watch it done any other way than my riding style, right? And that's it. So I don't know if anybody, I'm sure you guys have heard of Candy Crush. It's a game that I play very vehemently on my phone. So when I finish watching the rides that I need to ride for cross country, I go and I play Candy Crush until it's my time to go. Because it mentally takes me, I need to not think anymore, as I have my plan, and I just go away in a very, very different place of Candy Crush, and I save up all my lives for like my shows, and I literally use all of them, and I just play Candy Crush until it's my time to get on the horse, because I'd rather just completely mentally check out. I've already done what I need to do. And then when I'm on the horse, then I check back in, but I have my plan. I'm not thinking about negative thoughts about how I could have a stop or how I could have a run out. I only think about what I'm going to do and positive thoughts.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think as coaches, we see that a lot. We'll see our riders watching other riders almost too much. Yes. And we're like, oh my gosh, that person is just going to get way too nervous. Yes. And then obviously they're going to see somebody fall off, somebody get 3 refusals. And then it's like, pick and choose what you want to see, do your homework, and then just trust that you've done it, and then just set it aside and ride. Right?
Whether you want to listen to music or watch other horse videos, everybody has something else that they like to do. And that my thing is Candy Crush.
Yeah, good job. Alrighty, so we get a question from Monse, and Monse is also an attorney, and she works in intellectual property. Okay. And she's asking, do you think the sport will benefit from technology, and what can we do as riders?
Oh, I think the sport hugely benefits from technology, because I think the more we get the sport out there, the more we can we can get sponsors from, I hope, bigger brands, that not just horse brands. Like there was one point in time, Diet Dr. Pepper, I really wanted to get some advertisement out and get some sponsorship from Diet Dr. Pepper, because before the Olympics, Diet Dr. Pepper was doing sports advertisements for the sports that their brand was Be Different, right? And so for the Summer Olympics, they were doing like the off sports that no one knew about. And I was like, what? Like equestrianism would be perfect for that, because it's not a sport. Like everybody thinks like I pet horses for a living, or I'm a jockey. That's even better, right? So I think the more that we can show that horses is not just an elitist thing, and that it's a sport that encompasses a wider range of not just jumping, but dressage and barrels, and a sport that most people can touch, and you don't even have to own a horse. You can lease a horse. It's there's different ways of being able to get to horses. I think if we can make it seem that it's something that everybody can do, then I think we can get more sponsorship. When we get more sponsorship, we can get more money behind it. We get more money behind it, we get a bigger audience, right? And I think all of that is beneficial to the sport in that of itself.
Thank you, Laine. That was super helpful. And then again from Catalina, we have a question. What do you do apart from riding to maintain your ideal physical fitness? And I love that one, because I've seen in your stories that you mix it up a little bit. So please share.
So I have broken many bones. And so I'm quite stiff. And physically, I ride a lot of horses a day, but I always, especially with my dressage, need to work on my flexibility. bringing my shoulder blades back and down. So I do a hot vinyasa yoga. So, and the times are better, so I can be finished with a barn and I can go and do an hour or a 90-minute late yoga class. So I don't do Bikram, I do a hot vinyasa. So the classes, they're like range from 105 to 115 degrees. And so I like the heat for my bones and for my flexibility. I think it really helps. I also like the heat because it helps with my breath. It helps with the sweating. I feel so much thinner when I come out of it. It's cleansing, great mentally and spiritually. And it's great because I compete in the summer anyhow, so I have to be used to the heat, right? But the yoga is so great in strengthening, right, core, not just physically, but so mental, right? It's so great with mental. So I love yoga. And I think some people don't like doing the hot yoga. I love hot yoga. I think it's great, not just for weight loss and for core strength, but I think it's great to learn how to be uncomfortable, learn how to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. And you learn to block out the heat mentally. It's very much a mental challenge, not just a physical challenge. And that's why I love it so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Laine, since you mentioned breaking bones, I'm just going to add a little question of my own here. And I'm going to take advantage that my dad is online in this Zoom talk. So I've broken a lot of bones as well. And it's usually kind of taboo. Like some people expect your trainer to never fall off. And that's why I love riding with Buck, because he also falls down a lot, so I don't feel bad.
Yeah.
But could you just talk a little bit about how normal it is for riders to fall? And if you wouldn't mind maybe share some of the bones you've broken to kind of help us take that idea away that like people that are good riders don't fall off. I think people fall off, people break bones, and then maybe some of us just break more bones than some others. But just share a little bit about your experience with that.
I almost think that if you don't fall off, then you're not challenging yourself enough, right? Now, in your dad's defense, dressage riders do not like falling off. But I honestly think and this is my personal belief, and maybe I'm a bad person for thinking this way, but if you are not failing, then you're not challenging yourself enough, right? So I fall off all the time. And I don't want to say all the time, like it's a daily occurrence, but listen, I ride so many different horses and I'm constantly pushing the envelope because I want to be better, right? So I'm challenging myself. I'm putting the jumps up. I'm making the angles harder and the lines more technical, right? So you're gonna have a fall, you're gonna have a slip, you're gonna have the horse not understand, right? And the only way you know that you've met that a challenge, that you've met a challenge is if you have a failure. And the only way that you've, in my opinion, progressed is if you've surpassed that failure. And I think it's very different in the dressage world because it's very hard to compare the two, because the dressage people, everything, and I can understand your dad's point of view because I now have been a part of that world for a couple of years now, and everything that they do from the point that they step on their horse, from the time that they get off their horse, the second their foot goes in the saddle, it's methodical, it's rhythmical, it's thought out, it's controlled. That's number one, controlled, right? Completely controlled, in theory. In the eventing world, we have to learn how to have plan A, plan B, plan C, all the way through plan Z, right? Where things don't change. We have to be very quick to change a plan. And the only way you can learn how to quickly change a plan is through failing, right? And saying, crap, that didn't work. I gotta meet this. I gotta try that and do that better next time, right? Or I gotta teach the horse. He's gotta move his feet quicker, right? He's gotta learn how to move his feet quicker. It's very different mindsets. I have a challenge with that, because sometimes I don't understand why the dressage people are so slow in doing, like, why can't you just make it do this right now, right? But then, you know, there's a method behind what they do that is why their horses go the way their horses go, right? There's a reason why my dressage horses show up every day and they can go to work, and I know the horse that I'm getting every single day because they do the same thing every single day, barring like maybe once every 2 weeks they go on a hack. But it's a very controlled hack, not reckless abandon reins flipping. It's very controlled. Versus my eventing horses, right? Sometimes they might get a little bit nervous. I got a different horse to deal with at the show sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes, right? And as much as I try to put them in a controlled environment, it's not a perfect one because we don't compete in a perfect environment. We don't compete on perfect surfaces, right? We don't know how that coffin's going to ride because, you know, Joe Schmo has horse chipped in and didn't read it well. And then this guy's horse left one out and didn't read it well. We don't know how our horse is going to read it, right? So it's very different the way the two view outlooks. And I'm doing both. So yeah, I completely understand. I've been very fortunate to break everything from the waist up. Touch wood. You know, one of my accidents broke most of my bones at once. So, you know, all 24 ribs, you have 24 ribs. I broke all of them. My back, my neck, my scapula, my clavicle, my jaw in many places. That sucked. Yeah, not fun. And that's why I was in the ICU for so long. You know, on top of that, I've broken my elbow. I've had 3 reconstructive surgeries on that. I've broken the worst one. Well, I've broken the ulna. Had reconstructive surgery on that. The worst one, I have to say, out of all of them has been my shoulder, my humerus. And just from a horse, I was doing a small grid and the horse tripped on the landing rail, just tripped and just went to his knees, and then he couldn't catch himself and just kind of went to the side, just tripped down, and I fell underneath him, and I'm not a good pillow, it turns out, and just shattered my humerus. And that happened, 3 years ago. And that has probably been the worst break because it's something that, I mean, I have a 30 screws and 3 big plates in this. And it is like, I can't do good inversions in yoga because I can't get my arms straight up. Sleeping, it's always caused me, you know, issues with sleeping. That has probably been the worst one. And it is not, you know, I don't think falling is cool. And I can't even say that was a good fall because it wasn't like I was really pushing myself. I was schooling someone's horse. But I also think that, you know, falling doesn't mean that you're a bad rider. I mean, now listen, there's some riders that, okay, you need to hang up the spurs because it's your sun is set, right? Or some riders that are probably better to raise rabbits. Leo, you're not one of them, but we all know that some people are not meant for the sport. Some people are better doing other things than other people. That's what life is all about. However, you know, I do think that with horses, maybe the dressage riders don't fall off as much, but listen, look what's happened to Silva Martin. Look what happened to, her name, the girl that had the horrible accident without the helmet. There's so many, with horses comes risk. You could hand walk one and it decides to kick at another horse and you get hurt. I had one of my top students has one eye now. She lost her eye about 5 years ago when she was putting a blanket on her horse, and another one came up and attacked her horse and kicked her right in the face. And she's had 30 surgeries reconstructive on her face. I mean, it's just horses. And I think whether it's from falling off, you know, I think we all have to take on a certain amount of risk. And that's why we have amazing things like the blow up vests, like amazing helmets. the stirrups. I love the free jump stirrups for that very reason, so that we don't get drug or a foot caught in an obstacle. They have so many different ways of breaking free that your foot will never get stuck. So I think there's any way that we can make our sport and ourselves safer, absolutely. But I do think that there's an inherent risk. And I do think at some point you're going to fall off. And some people that ride multiple horses, like Buck, like myself, like Boyd, Jenny Brannigan, Hannah Sue, Lynn Szymanski, when you're riding a lot of horses, different horses, risking a lot, jumping big jumps, yeah, you're going to fall, right? It just is, because you're pushing the boundaries constantly. You're pushing. So, yeah.
Okay, so there you have it, you guys. If you fall off, that's just part of your training. Okay. So talking a little bit more about physical training, Lorena Guerra, she is the liaison between the eventing committee and the Costa Rican Federation. And she says she does yoga as well, but she wants to know if you do anything for your aerobics. Do you do anything like high intensity or aerobics workout?
I used to be a runner. Now, because of time, I don't need the aerobics because I ride so many horses a day. I do tell my students that don't have many horses a day that running is a great aerobic, or walking. I think power walking is another. It's low on the joint concussion. Swimming is another good one, but I think nothing really takes the place with the heart rate getting it pretty high, is running or power walking uphill.
Am I right that I saw you in some Tough Mudder races at some point?
Tough Mudders, yes. And running is amazing. Hill work, sprint work, awesome, right? Let's look what we do with the horses. I have time constraints now just because I don't have enough time in the day to do that stuff. But I used to do a lot of those Tough Mudders. I thought that was awesome, so much fun. And I used to do a lot of competitive running, and great way to stay in shape. But now because there's stresses of the world, and because where I need it most is in my flexibility, I choose to do the hot yoga, and I get my heart rate really high from it when holding those poses, and with the heat, that's where I get my heart rate pretty high. But if I feel like, hey, I'm missing out, I get a lot of walking in during the day, because anytime my horses are done, like if I'm in the cross country field, I don't walk on my horse's back. I always get off my horse, undo their girth, and I hand walk them. Just like after dressage test, I never walk them back to the trailer, to the stall on their back. I always get off them. So anytime that I can be walking to up my cardio, I do.
That's a really good tip. Thank you.
Yeah, I always tell people to, anytime they can. I think it's better horsemanship, and I think it's better for us physically.
Okay, really cool. So we've been talking about our training. Now we have a question all the way from Panama. So we have some international Zoom people here. And it says, how do you customize each horse's individual training program, even when getting them better, ready for the same level of competition? So just maybe, like you were saying, your body needs more flexibility. Horses have different needs as well. How do you adjust the plan for each horse? And if you wouldn't mind, maybe talking a little bit about the high-low fit and how that's useful as well to develop the horse's training program.
Oh, yes, very good. Thank you for reminding me. So, okay, great example. So, yes, every horse is different, right? So I've got some horses that come in with zero top line, that come in for training. It has no top line whatsoever. Well, first and foremost, let's look at the horse. Is the horse skinny with zero top line, or is he fat with zero top line? If the horse has zero top line and he's fat, well, I can go to work a lot easier. If the horse is thin with zero top line, well, it's going to take a little bit of time. I've got to do small increments, right? Because you need weight to put on muscle, right? So first of all, if the horse is thin, I do very small, short workouts, right? Because I don't want to take away any weight. So my goal is to put weight on the horse, then build up in interval training with him. I do a lot of lunging work. So once a week, my horses lunge. Every horse, my dressage and my eventing horses lunge at least once per week, some over cavalettis. Again, depending on the horse, I'll do cavaletti always. And again, depending on the horse, how green they are, I'll lunge them with or without surcingle and side reins. Some just need to learn to stretch. So they don't need side reins. They need to learn just to push from their hind leg and stretch down into the bridle. Some need deflection down. Some need to collect. So again, it's all a matter of learning. There's an art to lunging, you guys. It is not just spinning your horse around in circles to make them tired. It is, you can easily break a horse lunging, or you can train a horse lunging. I prefer training them. So that is key fundamental in my training, is lunging. Most people, in my opinion, don't know how to lunge. I am very lucky because my trainer, Radu Marcoci, he's Romanian, trained in Germany, also worked at the Spanish riding school in Vienna for a year. He is the master of lunging, so I've learned from him. I still don't know how to lunge with two lunge lines because he's not taught me yet, but I know how to lunge pretty darn well with side reins, and where the side reins go based on where the horse's training is and where it should be high or should be low, how to connect the lunge line again, how to stretch, where to put the cavalettes. So that's pretty neat that he's taught me so much. So I'm still waiting how to use two lunge lines. So that's pretty neat. Going back to the high-low fit. So the high-low fit is a device that measures, it's not just a heart rate device, right? But it does measure your horse's heart rate. If you have an iWatch, it makes it really cool. It makes it even cooler than what it is. So it's a device that goes on your girth. And when you have it synced with your watch, you can see in real time your horse's heart rate. Now, okay, if you don't know about where your horse's heart rate is, it means nothing to you. Like where a normal horse's heart rate is, it means nothing to you. Where it gets really neat is it sort of breaks horses' heart rates down in zones. It goes zone 1 through zone 5. Zone 5 being mega cardiac galloping, zone 1 being walking, either hand walk or, hacking. So you kind of want to know, like, if I want a trot set, I want my horses to be anywhere between zone 2, zone 3. Sometimes they'll go in zone 5 if there's a big spook, but it should go quickly back down to zone 2, zone 3. When I'm cantering, should be zone 4. If I'm sprinting, zone 5. If I'm in jumping, it'll go to zone 5 if they're really exerting themselves in a line, but should go back down to zone 4. And it's really neat. So when I'm bringing a horse back from injury, for instance, Patrick, I don't want him to be in zone 5 for 5 minutes at a time. It's okay to go in zone 5 for like a little bit, like a minute or 30 seconds, so long as most of his zone is in zone 2 or zone 3, right? Because my whole theory of using this device is to prevent injury, right? And to keep him safe from this injury reoccurring, right? For horses that have a hard time cooling out, right, it would be great. Just for overall, again, knowledge for you as a rider, and sort of knowing where your horse's resting rate is. It's an amazing device, and to see your horse's heart rate in real time is awesome. The app is what's really cool because it can sort of start to get, it measures, you can share your horse with other riders on there. It's kind of its own little app there, and you can kind of be friends with other people on there. You can share your horse's statistics on there. And it has, like, sponsored riders will share their horses on there, grid ideas on there, exercises ideas on there. But yeah, it's you can use it while your horse is lunging, if you have a surcingle on, while your horse is hand walking. I mean, it's just a great sort of tool to have in conditioning. I used it for, I had a very big Irish horse last year that was very hard to fitten up. So I wanted to get him in zone 5 quite often because I wanted to get his aerobic fitness really going, right? I wanted to get his heart pumping. And so I would always strive to get to zone 5, and then not just get to zone 5, how quickly does he drop from zone 5? That's how I could tell how fit he was. And so that I use as an amazing tool to prep him for Fair Hill. So going back to the previous question, how do I tailor every program? How do I tailor the program for every horse? like I say, when the horses come to me, I sort of look overall, what is the horse meant to do? Is the horse going to be for me, for my competition horse? Or is the horse going to be for an amateur, for a young rider? What does this horse need to do? What is this horse's job? What's the body condition this horse is coming in? What do I need to do to change its nutrition, its diet? Do I need to change its nutrition, its diet? Does it need more protein? Do I need to add more foliage, more hay, turnout? And then, again, they always need to, I'd rather my horses start with a little more fat than less, right? It's always easy to take away, right? To make a horse thinner than want to create muscle when there's no fat there, right? And I usually start them with lunge work, and then I start them with a little endurance work with trot work, and then I begin with flat work, and then with that's good, when I have that much control, then I begin with the jump work. I don't usually jump more than once a week with my horses, and I usually most of my training is done doing dressage work, once a day flat work, once a week lunging work, and then I always have one day a week for my eventing horses of a trail ride, right, where it's sort of a decompression of the mind. Again, not reckless abandon with heads flinging around, but long rein, loose rein, where the horses are walking freely, enjoying their time, and that's sort of their day to decompress. Some can go in groups, some can't if they're too competitive. It just really depends on the horse, and I sort of get that over a gauge of time when I meet the horse.
Awesome, Laine. That was super insightful. So just two more questions we have here. One is, it was great to see you again. That's from Brazil. She's the secretary for the Costa Rica National Federation. And we stayed at her house when we went to Liberia. Yeah. And she's saying, it's really intimidating to see you jump those huge jumps. Do you have a favorite type of jump, or a jump like you really love in the Rolex course? And then, are the ones that you like to jump are the same ones that are intimidating to you? Like, do you get a high after you jump them? And what type of jumps do you practice more?
That's a good question. So I think, I think the jumps that are the most intimidating jumps to me are probably the most technical jumps. It's funny because, like I call it the rider frighteners, the big ditches and walls. You'll see a lot of the riders, no one talks, you just walk right past them, right? And most of the people stand there and they take the best pictures, right? Because the horses jump them. But at that point in time, all the training that you've done up to them, it's just a striding, you don't want to miss. Now again, there's been a couple jumps that, like, there is one in particular at Kentucky back when I think I was like 21 or 22 years old. And it was this massive corner with a ditch below it. So it was a corner, it was narrow, and a ditch. So it was coming off of a turn. And I was so scared of that jump. And I was so happy when I came out of the turn that I saw my distance to it, because I was like, whew. If I didn't see it, that would have been really bad for me. So yeah, I think, absolutely, when you jump those jumps, okay, the jump I was really scared of, I think everybody's scared of it. And if people aren't, then they're lying. Like the Cottesmore Leap at Burley. That ditch, they don't tell you this, but when you first get there, like the first day on a Wednesday, when you go to walk the course, they have a Range Rover parked in the ditch. I kid you not, okay? A big Range Rover parked inside the ditch, and you're walking the course, and the Range Rover is completely inside the ditch. That's how deep the ditch is, and that's how wide the ditch is. So you're walking it, and you're like, oh my God, I never thought this jump could get any more scary. Like, I've seen it on movies, I've seen it on videos, it's crazy. So that's very scary. And you only hope that you see the distance, right? Because you see all these scary videos of the horses jumping inside the ditch, people falling off in the ditch. So yeah, I'd be stupid to say, like, oh no, I'm not scared of that. Of course you're scared of it. I'm honestly speaking, I'm scared of every single jump on a 5-star course. Every single jump. It's when I leave the start box, though, I have trained myself to take that fear, because there's a lot of it, and use that knee-jerk reaction of fear to work on my behalf, right? So, you know, when people are jumpy because they're scared, that knee-jerk reaction now has worked for me to add more leg, right? Or sit up and sit back, right? So that is what, over so many years, and I continue to train. That's why I make the jumps really big at home, because I want to make myself nervous. That's why I ride with Buck, because he makes me nervous. That's why we all ride with Buck, right? And I'm sure he does the same to himself, right? Because you want to learn to make those nerves work for you, not learn to be sort of, when you're nervous, just sit there like a deer in headlights. You want that knee-jerk reaction that we naturally possess, right? Why do you jump in scary movies? Why do people get jumpy, right? It's the same. We want that same jumpiness, but to work for us on the cross, or to work for us wherever where it needed to work for us. So I would say most of the jumps I'm very nervous about. But yeah, like the big ditch and wall at Burley, absolutely, 100%. The jumps with the big drops, the big technical jumps, super nervous. The really, really skinny jumps where your horse could run out and you could, you know, have a stop or a refusal or get eliminated, super nervous about. And I don't get a high as I'm jumping it. The high is the second you finish the course, like, and you always hear everybody, we all say, oh, I want to do that all over again. Like, I don't know if I actually really want to do that all over again, right? That, like, you know, if I actually heard myself say that, but right that second, yeah, I want to do it all over again. But if I actually like had downtime, no, okay, I'm good. I don't want to do that anymore. But yeah, it's an amazing feeling to have accomplished something when you've trained so long, and to have that fear, because nobody with respect goes out on that course with no fear. It doesn't happen. You have to respect that course. But it's a fearful respect. It's not scared. There's a difference. It's a respect, and knowing that if you go out there, you make mistakes. I hate to say it could cost your life, but it can. There's risk. But it's a very healthy respect that you have, and that you strive to do well, and to take care of your horse, and to take care of yourself.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Then final question from Molly. She is an awesome eventing trainer here in Costa Rica. She's from the United States. She has a venue at the beach. And she's asking, did you use the PIXM before COVID? And do you think trainers will be able to find the time to keep up with virtual lessons when schedules go back to normal? And also, if she could get some insight as, do you charge any differently for a virtual lesson than one that you're actually physically there, or do you charge the same? Just kind of, since this is unknown territory for us, like, how should we benchmark and how should we do it?
So I did use the PIXM before, because I got it. One of my good friends is a really top dressage rider. She also rides with Adrian Lyle, who rides for the United States. She bought the PIXM last year. Yes, last year. Adrian rode in Aachen last year. And so Adrian was training in Germany and was giving her lessons in preparation. It might have been the year before last. And so she told me about it. Honestly, I wanted the PIXM because I was having a hard time with my solo shot. And I got the solo shot to get something to film me. And it was a remarkable and affordable piece of technology. But unfortunately, would stop working. So I wanted the PIXM, honestly, just for filming purposes, something that could almost film me, because I have amazing people that help me and work for me, but not all the time can they, we're busy. They have to tack other horses up. They can't always film me. And so I wanted it just simply for training purposes, even within my lessons. And so I didn't get one, but I had seen it. And so I had talked to a couple of my clients, like Zena, that's in Baltimore, or excuse me, Boston, and one of my other clients that's in Pittsburgh, and then another client that's in Wisconsin, that I go and I frequently teach clinics there, and said, hey guys, this is a great way when I'm not there to teach clinics. If you need help, we can do lessons. And honestly, my lessons are the same price. You know, I think I take an hour. I haven't taught as many jump lessons. I've taught a lot of dressage lessons using it. I've not taught as many jump lessons. So I'd imagine, I think the jury's still out on that. I know Zena's taught some jump lessons and they've been great. And I think her lessons have stayed the same, and I think she's taught group lessons doing it. And I think she's taught this, I can't speak on her behalf, but I know that I have charged the same amount. And I think you can charge the same amount because they're getting the same thing. Plus, the selling point is that they can save the video and they can go back. Whereas a lesson, unless you have someone filming it for you, half the time if they're not standing by the coach, you can't hear the coach, right? So this is like very clear. You can hear the coach. It zooms in. I mean, I think there's a lot to like about it. So I think play with it. Maybe for the first couple lessons, if you guys end up getting it, maybe charge a startup price and then go back to your normal lesson prices.
Thank you, Laine. That was super, super helpful. Okay, so we got a lot of good comments. Doña Hania, the president of the Costa Rican Federation, she says this was a wonderful talk and super helpful for our riders. So thank you so much. And we just love having you. So before we leave the meeting, we're just gonna ask everyone to turn their cameras on, and then we're gonna take the famous group Zoom picture, because we're gonna have that for our archives on our Instagram, as we already mentioned. So everybody, please, including Leo, turn on your video. Not my best face. Okay, we're gonna give everyone just a little bit of time, and then we're gonna do a countdown. Okay.
Who's taking the picture?
I'll take it. Why not?
Yeah, because I want the picture too.
Yeah. Okay, véanse guapos, sonrisas grandes. Okay. Super. Okay, everybody ready? Smiles, and at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay, thank you everybody for signing up. It was great to see you. Hashtag, what is it, Laine? Pura Vida Eventing Pura Vida?
Yes, I love it.
Costa Rica?
Yeah, eventing, exactly.
Okay, great to see everybody. Good evening. Thank you, Laine. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Bye.
Pura vida.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.